Hello everyone, welcome to Watch Complications. I am Brian. This video is going to introduce you to an interface I have created for viewing your watch collection in full screen on your computer. Now, I wasn't kidding a couple weeks ago whenever I said that the Morgan Arrow 8 chronometer, which has the Chris Reward SH21 movement in it, is becoming the darling of my collection. I have it on again today. If you want to see more about this, check out the video on the SH21 movement, which was the first in my movement review series. But what I want to talk about before I show Watchee Browser, which is what I'm calling the application that you can use to view your watch collection in full screen, I want to talk about why I've spent my time creating this interface, this web-based application, and why I'm doing what I'm doing on the channel and the blog and everything else. Well, you know, this has been a really interesting journey. It's been a couple years. I'm about to, at the time of recording this video, about to hit 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And you know, as I started this journey, which I named An Exploration of Watches and Watchmaking, I was interested in watches. I wanted to really get into the world of watches and groups and really be an enthusiast, a collector. I've really always loved watches, and I talk about it way back in my very first blog post on the website, watchcomplications.com. But it's been just an interesting journey, and I had no idea where it was going to take me. Like, when you think about all the different watch channels and watch blogs and content and stuff out there, there's a lot of stuff, and I think most people get into it because of their enthusiasm for watches. It leads them many times down different types of roads, particularly towards, let's say, a little bit more commercialization. There's some aspect of that to what we do. It's, you know, it takes you have no idea. It takes so much time to create videos and content, and it's become a second job. And that's all well and good. I love spending my time doing it. I love sharing. But what drives me is that, you know, I'm a tinker, I'm a learner, I'm a sharer. I've always been that way, right? I spent 10 years in college because I loved learning, and now I'm a teacher. I love teaching. I'm a computer science professor, and yeah, so it's just who I am. It's built in. I want to know how things work. I want to build things, and I started this with watches because I just wanted to share. I wanted to go on a journey, and I wanted to share. I wanted to get into, you know, what goes on inside of a watch. I wanted to talk about how they're built and created. When I started all of this, I had really no intentions about what it was going to be. I didn't expect to have a YouTube channel, yet here I am sitting here talking to people around the world about watches. I had no expectations around how many subscribers I would get when I started the channel. I had no plan to start what I call a nano brand, and where I make and sell custom watches to clients. I've met so many interesting and friendly and good people. There's a lot of jerks out there too, but you know, I've met and made lots of relationships, and it's a great little world to be in. And I just want to contribute, right? I want to be a part of that, and I want to share more than anything. And that's why I post videos and how-tos, and not just this sort of one-dimensional, you know, marketing, or, you know, sort of, again, commercialized view of what YouTube or Amazon or a brand can be. At the end of the day, I am just someone who loves watches. I love helping people enjoy watches, whether that's wanting to learn about how to make your own. And, you know, I started from scratch as well, and I've learned so much, and there's so much more to learn. It's just been a great journey so far, and I thank everyone for joining me on that. And that ties into what this video is about. There's a watch application for iOS called Watchee, and I've become really good friends with the developer, and I reviewed the app several videos ago. You should go back and look at that. But it's for iOS only. There's a solution, there's a workaround for Android users in terms of using what I'm going to talk about today, the Watchee Browser. You know, being a programmer, I thought about, you know, I want to build an app to manage my watch collection. But there was one out there for iOS, which I happen to have an iPhone. And so I thought, well, it's great, it's on the phone, but I wanted to view my watch collection in full screen. And I'm a problem solver, I'm a programmer, and so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna spend the time, not just for myself, but to share it with others out there, a way to view your watch collection data in full screen. There are some cardinals making some really annoying sounds right at my door. I'm a Cubs fan, so cardinals are annoying anyway, but those cardinals are particularly annoying. Well, Blue Jays are too. But in this video, I'm going to walk you through using Watchee Browser, Watchee Browser Pro, and talk about all the features and how to view your watch collection in full screen. Watchee Browser, Watchee Browser Pro are just another way of me sharing, sort of giving back to other people, other enthusiasts that may be using this application and wanting a way to look at their collection, share their collection information, manage their collection, and hopefully this will make your life more fun and interesting if you are a user of the application. And if not, I still hope you enjoy it anyway. So I'm going to walk you through where to find the information about it, how to use it, and let's have some fun.
All right, I'm so excited to show you about Watchee Browser, Watchee Browser Pro. If you want to know more about the Watchee app itself, then you can, of course, Google it. You can go to the Apple App Store page. If you happen to be on my website, watchcomplications.com, I have sort of a central hub for all things Watchee. There's a couple ways to get to it. One is if you're on my home page, there's this Watchee app icon, which is the same icon from the application itself. In the menu up here in the upper right, you see Watchee. If you click on this top level menu item, will take you to the same location as this app icon. Then if you want specific links to the Watchee pages, you can hover over the drop down and then you can go to Watchee Browser, which is the lightweight version, Watchee Browser Pro. I'm going to talk over those, of course. And then if you want to add images for Watchee Browser Pro, there's a page that's the guide to go through how to get images into Watchee Browser Pro. There's the app review, which I did for the blog and the YouTube channel, and then there's a link to the App Store page. If you go to the sort of central hub for all things Watchee on my site, you'll see there's a brief overview. It talks about Ansi, who's the developer who developed it. If you want to talk with me or Ansi or the people that are interested in using the app and talk about features, request features, all that fun stuff, you can join us on Facebook at Fans of the Watchee app. We have a little group where we discuss things about the app. There's links here to the App Store page and the Watchee review, but this is also a preview page for Watchee Browser, Watchee Browser Pro. Watchee Browser is just a simple web interface. We'll talk about it. I'll go through in detail. There's screenshots here, though, on this little hub. Watchee Browser Pro is a little bit more complex, which has extra functionality. There's different views. It's got photo support. And again, we'll go cover all of that. But if you want some screenshots, they are right here. Now, I just want to do one little aside, and that is if you don't have iOS. So Watchee is for iOS only, and it's not optimized for tablets. It's not optimized for desktop. So if you are an Android user and you don't have the app, but you're managing your watch collection, or if you're not an Android user, you're just somebody who doesn't have the app and you want to view your watch collection in a full screen, sort of visual appealing way other than looking at a spreadsheet, you can create a spreadsheet that follows this column format. They're listed in order: brand, model, year, reference, serial number, so on and so forth. Then you could use the browser. So again, use the browser if you want. It's free. You don't need to have the app necessarily to use it. You just have to follow this format. Basically, set up your columns in this order. Give you a brief look at that. So here's the file that's exported from Watchee. You can see here's the columns at the top: brand, model, year, reference, serial number, so on and so forth. So basically, create your spreadsheet with that info. You can use Watchee Browser. So have at it. What I want to do is go through and show you how to use Watchee Browser and Watchee Browser Pro. First step is you have to export the CSV from Watchee. The way you do that is you open the app, you go to the Settings tab, scroll all the way to the bottom, and hit the Export CSV. It allows you to share it, via email, messages, iCloud, which is where I a lot of times put it to copy it between my systems. But basically, get the CSV exported and copy it to your computer. And then you could open up in a browser. Watchee Browser is just a simple web-based view of the watch collection that uses the CSV in its raw format. It also works well on mobile. Of course, if you're on mobile, you have your phone. Although if you, again, are an Android user, you could use your Android device to view Watchee Browser as well. Let's look at that first. You can see simple page. It's just the Watchee Browser logo text here. If you click on this, it will refresh the page. If you click on the Watch Complications logo, it will take you back to my site, the home page. There's a README if you want to know some of the finer details. Watchee Browser allows for desktop viewing of the CSV file, but I actually wrote the Watchee Browser Pro version first. I wanted this really feature-rich way of looking at my watch collection information. But then I thought, I just want to use the Watchee file as is, give everyone sort of like a bare bones data-oriented view of your watch collection. And it's written in JavaScript. So for you non-programmers out there, that's important to know that JavaScript just means all the data is client side. It's on your computer. So when you go to Watchee Browser and you pick the Watchee file to view, no data is copied to my server, stored on my site, that sort of thing. It's all kept on your computer. All I'm doing is taking the file that you've chosen, opening it up, and viewing it in the browser. With that in mind, the watch details that I display in Watchee Browser are the ones that I feel are most pertinent, like the basics. And I'm going to make adjustments to it as the Watchee app is updated. But I don't expect it to change much over time. Of course, you can ask me questions, you can give me suggestions, but I actually prefer PHP to JavaScript in terms of programming. But this is all client side, no data is copied to my computer. But let me show you how this works. So you're here, choose the Watchee file. Whenever you export the CSV from Watchee, it's just called watchee.csv. I'm going to choose that and then hit the load button, and boom, there's my watch collection. Isn't that cool? And again, you could create the CSV file. So if you're managing a watch collection in a spreadsheet, just create it with that format. I gave you the columns, and boom, there is your watch collection. It's the main information. You have the brand, you have the model, reference, year that you purchased it, or the year that you bought it, however you're using that particular field, serial number, wear count. I'm computing just like it happens inside the app. This is not a field. All you have in the Watchee CSV file is the number of times you've worn it. What I'm doing behind the scenes with the programming is actually calculating that percentage related to every other time you've worn other watches. So you can see these different watch percentages. My Marlowe Morris Sands, for example, is one of my most worn right now. It's at 21%. I started this at the beginning of 2020. So some of these I haven't worn or not, so on and so forth. But this just reads directly from the file, just the raw file. And the raw file from Watchee will have all of your watches, including the sold ones, in it. So if I scroll down here, you'll see there are sold watches. That's important to remember for when we look at Watchee Browser Pro. These are basically inactive buttons. You can kind of tap on it, but it doesn't do anything. Now, honestly, the developer of Watchee has allowed me to use the status plates, so there's some visual consistency between the app. So you can set a status for each of the watches in the Watchee app, and I have the plates here. So my Arm and Strom, that's my Grail. I have a whole series on Brian and the Grail. Check that out. Willing to flip, needs a strap. I'm waiting on a strap from Timeless Luxury Watches for my Grand Seiko, and they're sold. And there's a lot of other statuses you can have. If some piece of data is missing, you'll see there are 3 dashes. Again, that's sort of consistent with what happens in the Watchee app itself. You can see those dashes here as well. So again, I've just chosen the main information that's, I think, most important. Obviously over here on the left of each card we have the main information. In terms of the specification, there's a lot of data in these spreadsheets. So for example, there's diameter, thickness, there's different complications. It allows up for 6 complications. There's buy and sell info, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm showing is just the basics. Specs, diameter, height, lug to lug, water resistance, and the 3 main things about the movement. Is it automatic? Is it quartz? Is it manual? So on and so forth. The exact movement and the power reserve. So that's Watchee Browser. Pretty simple, straightforward. Loads up sort of a raw view, but it's nice to see the collection in this format. Let's take a look at Watchee Browser Pro. A couple ways to get there. Of course, you can get there from my main site. I'm going to go over here to the README and jump over to Watchee Browser Pro. You can see the interface looks very similar. Same idea here. If you click on the sort of logo text, you'll get a refresh of the page. Watch Complications will take you back to my site. README here as well. Just pointing out that Watchee Browser Pro is different in certain ways from Watchee Browser. Watchee Browser is JavaScript. Watchee Browser Pro is mostly PHP with some JavaScript thrown in when appropriate. Again, if you're non-programmers, which most of you aren't going to be. PHP is a server-side language. JavaScript, which is what Watchee Browser is a client-side. Client-side, that means this data and information stays on the client, your computer. PHP is a server-side language, which is what Watchee Browser Pro is mostly based on. That means data is being copied and moved to my server, my website, but it also allows me to do a lot more interesting things with it because the data is being moved. So what happens if you use Watchee Browser Pro is your Watchee files copied to my web server. First, I verify it to be legit, that it's not some sort of a malicious file, it's too large, that sort of thing. And then I copy it to a safe place on the server with a unique identifier. So I empty that folder every so often. I'll keep it sort of as necessary if I need to add photos for your watch collection, that sort of thing. But I don't keep the data long term. I don't do anything else with it. I just move it to do what I need to do with the Watchee browser. So if you're wanting the lightweight version that keeps the data on your client, use Watchee Browser. But Watchee Browser Pro has a lot more cool stuff going on with it. First and foremost, photo support. Most photos in Watchee Browser Pro are going to be default images, you'll see. But what makes it more pro, Watchee Browser Pro, is the added functionality. You'll see there's complete Watchee CSV info, not just the most pertinent stuff that I had in Watchee Browser, and photo support. So let me show you what that looks like whenever we use Watchee Browser Pro. Same idea. Choose the file selected, and I'm just going to use the same raw file that's directly exported from Watchee to show you that it works with it just fine. I'm going to hit load file. Okay, there's a different view in the sense that we have the same cards, but notice all of the cards now have an image location. We have the same status plates, but we have other things going on like add images, row view, and we'll scroll down here. You'll notice that the sold watches are not showing up by default. This is going to show me my active collection, not things that I've moved along. Let me go hit the back button and notice that there's a sold button here. I have my Watchee CSV file. Again, I could select it and say I want this to be the file. If I want to show sold watches along with my other ones, I can click the sold checkbox and now I'll get my sold watches as well. But I like having this option to see my current collection as opposed to what my collection has looked like over time. So you have that feature. Now the card view is similar to Watchee Browser. Here's the big difference. You can click on these cards and it will show you a full specification sheet for the watch that has all of the info from the CSV file, including all of the complications and the buy and sell info, the full specs and movement information. If you hover over this with there being no images, you'll see that it says no image. If there are images, you'll be able to click on them and see them in full screen in the browser. The way the complications work is there are 6 slots in the Watchee app for complications. If those are not filled in, it will only show the complications that you have listed. This would have 2, comp 1, comp 2, and it's only going to show those. If there are no complications, like I don't have any entered here on the arm and strom right now, it says no complications noted. Again, here's another one that has 3. This is my Christopher Ward Moon phase, has 3 complications. It says watch I've not sold. You can see there's buy info. The purchase and sell information is in a currency. You've entered that in the Watchee app. That currency is going to be shown with the appropriate symbol based on your locale, which it uses your IP address in your browser to determine what your locale is. Also will use in terms of formatting the currency what your browser settings might be. So it uses your location, your browser settings to try to put the correct currency symbol and format for your monetary value for buy sell. If it's not been sold, then it says not sold. Let me go down to a sold watch here and I'll click on one of these. It'll tell me whether I've made a profit or a loss on the watch, which I'm computing again with the programming behind the scenes. Again, if information's not there, then you'll see dashes. So all of this cool information shown in the full screen for the watch collection. Now, personally, I love the card view. It's what I made first, and having these pop-ups is great and gives you the full sort of specification. By the way, you can click sort of anywhere and it will go away. But some people like looking at things in a table format, and so I do have what's called row view. And if you click on row view, it will flip to this sort of table view. You can scroll down. Again, if you have sold selected or not, whenever you load the page, it will either include them here or not. Same idea, all the information about the watch pulled from the CSV file. Every field in the CSV is represented here, and just a different way of viewing it if you preferred this view. If you hover over the image, you can see it also says no image, or if there was an image there, you could click on it and it would view full screen in the browser. And you can flip back and forth between card view and row view in Watchee Browser Pro. Now I'm going to show you an example collection with all the images just to show you how cool this is. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to add images. So I'm going to go pick a different file that has a bunch of image data in it. Choose this. I'm not going to select sold right now. I'm just going to say load file. Look at that. Example collection. There's that beautiful Armstrong mirrored force resonance water. Oh, I want it. But now look what happens. I click this watch and there is my view with images included. It looks beautiful. Yes, I put time and energy into this. And then now when I hover over images, I get this little view button. Now you have to click inside the view. If you click view, it's going to pop up a different window and it's going to show that image in its full resolution. Now depending on what resolution I've got these images set in, it may look a little bit blurry on it depending on how big your screen is. It just depends on what the resolution is. And pop that down. But you can view these images. Let me flip back to row view real quick. And again, you can see there's only one image in row view. It doesn't show one. It just pulls from the first image. And you could hit view and it does the same thing. But let's go back to card view. So you can look down through the watches here. Number one in my collection is my Ombre. This is the most favorite watch in my collection. If I had to pick one out of all these, it would be this one. Although this Morgan Airweight chronometer is really giving it a run for its money. So collection, again, I can include sold watches if I want. Go back to Watchee Browser Pro. Let me pull this up again. Let's throw sold watches in, load the file. Now I'm going to have my watches and then other things I've sold. Again, this just is an example. Pop this up and there we go. So yeah, that's the cool image support. But how do you add images? Because if you just use the default file from Watchee and load that, you're not going to have any image data, because when you export the CSV file from Watchee, you set images in the Watchee app itself. In the application you have images in there. That data doesn't get exported. Images don't get exported. Those are on your phone. So this is just the raw text data. There's no images in here. What I've done with Watchee Browser Pro is you're going to add 2 columns to the end. I could expand it to 3, 4, however many photos I would choose to end up supporting if I wanted to, but 2's plenty right now. Maybe 3, like for potential side views, loom shots, that sort of thing, but I'm putting all kinds of pictures in. So how do you add images? There's a button here called Add Images. If you're on my site, you can go to the menu, Add Images. There's a place for it as well, but let's click here. It's going to take you back to sort of the main portion of my website, and here's a guide for how you add photos using Watchee Browser Pro. So Watchee Browser Pro is free to use, but the photo support's not guaranteed. So whether or not photos exist in my repository depends on whether or not I've added them. And it takes a lot of time to go out and find stock photos and add them, get the right resolution. If you have a small collection with just a few watches and they're very common watches, it's possible that you could find them in my repository already, depending on when you're looking at this or when you're doing it and how much time has passed since I've created this, since this is going to be on the internet now for eternity. But if you want guaranteed image support, whether that's whether you get a new watch or you want to make sure that I add those to the repository, I have a very small fee, and it's really just for my time, because it takes time to go out and find stock photos and get the resolution and get them in the repository. $5 per 10 watches. So if you have a 10 or less watch collection and you want guaranteed photo support, then $5 via PayPal, and I will add your photos for your collection to the repository. If I can't find stock photos for the watch you have, then I will maybe ask you to send me photos, but I'll add them for your file. Once I have photos, whether I've got them or they're already in the repository, here's the steps you go through to add them to the CSV file so you can view them in Watchee Browser Pro. Step 1, export the CSV file from Watchee app. Easy to do. So I've already shown you how to do that. Here's what it looks like. Copy the CSV to your computer. Step 2, open it up with Excel or whatever spreadsheet program you like to use. Scroll all the way to the right and you're going to add 2 columns. I've already shown you the file a little bit. Set completeness is currently the last field in the default Watchee file. You can add 2 more columns. I call them image 1, image 2. You can call them whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. The program ignores the header row anyway. And then you'll see that there are these image names of the files, like my Arm and Strom, Mirrored Force Resonance, Water 2, JPEG. So you're going to add a couple columns, and then you're going to paste in the file names of the picture that you're wanting to show for that watch. Well, what pictures are in my repository? Step 3. I've got this cool little slick. I really like this feature in my website. I want to search images. Let's say I've got a Casio MRW200H. I can type in Casio. There it is. I click on this. I can view a preview of the watch in that particular model. The format I'm sort of using for the repository is brand, model, and also I'll use, depending on the brand, I'll use reference as well, because reference is a nice way to distinguish between them. There's usually a 1 and a 2. There might be a 3 or 4 depending on how many different images I have for that watch. You can pick what images you want. But I want to add this image. There's a couple ways. I could, when you hover over the image name, you can come down here. You could copy and paste it that way, or you can copy file name, which copies it to the clipboard. And then you go over to your CSV file and you paste it in the appropriate row where you want that image to show up. Now, when you're in Watchee Browser Pro, I'm going to go back here real quick and show you. I'm going to grab this real quick. This is just for reference. Now, the image you're seeing here first is the first image column, which is typically going to be the face of the watch. You could set it to something else if you wanted to, I guess. And so you have image 1, image 2. Okay? Image 1, image 2. If you're in row view, then it's just using image 1, whatever's in the first column. Okay? So let's go back to the images page. So this search feature is pretty cool. You could scroll down through, but you can search by typing in, copy it, and put it in the CSV file. And then you just enjoy Watchee Browser Pro. Now here's the big question, is what if you update the watch info in the Watchee app on your phone? Like you've updated wear counts, you've changed statuses, you've added a new watch, you've deleted a watch for whatever reason. What if you export a new CSV that's different from the version that's on your computer that you're using to view in the Watchee browser? Here's the process. Open the new CSV after exporting it, copying it to your computer. Open the new CSV file. Copy any new rows for new watches and insert them into the Browser Pro CSV file. Okay, delete any rows that you may have removed, and then copy the columns over up to the end, which is the set completeness. Let me show you what that process looks like. Okay, so I have my Watchee Browser CSV file. Here it is. This is the one I was using. This is maybe, let's say it's a month old. Wear counts have changed, maybe statuses have changed. I've added or removed things. If I've added something, then I need to go to my new export, Watchee CSV. Let's say that this is a new export. If I've added a new watch in here, I'd go here, I'd copy this and insert it alphabetically where appropriate in the file. If I've deleted something from my Watchee app, then it won't be in the new file that was exported. I need to come to my Watchee Browser CSV and delete that particular row. I've not added or removed anything in this case, but other stuff has changed, again, like wear count, status. What you would do is you would come to the latest version of your export, Watchee CSV, and I'm just going to copy all of my watch data down to the end. So that's everything. That's all my watch data. Don't need the column names. I'm going to hit copy. All right. And then I'm going to come over to my Watchee browser file on my computer, and I'm going to select the very first name and column, and which is my Arm and Strom right here. And I'm just going to paste it, which is going to copy all that new info over, including my where counts. Notice my where counts right here. Those are going to change, but what I'm not going to do is overwrite the image settings that I have. So I'm just going to hit paste. So it pasted the new information in. I've got new where counts here, but I've not overwritten any of the image information. So I'm going to save that. Excel, you're terrible. Date is going to be lost. Comma delimited format. Yeah, right. Thank you, Microsoft, for being false. Okay, let's go back to Watchee Browser Pro. And now I've got that new information. I can go look at my Watchee Browser CSV file, load that up, and now I've got new where rates or whatever. So that's how you would go about adding or updating the information. Now, it's a little bit manual in that sense, but you know what? You're viewing your watch collection in full screen is better than nothing. And until someone develops a full-blown desktop application for managing your watch collection, this is pretty good. So that is Watchee Browser and Watchee Browser Pro. I don't know if I'll add some other features. I'm sure there will be. I literally added the sold option just like 2 days ago. It was a conversation with Ansi, the developer, and to be like, you know what, it'd be nice to be able to say whether or not you wanted to view sold watches in your collection. So thought that was kind of interesting to just throw that option in there, be able to do that. So now I should be able to see my sold watches. And you know, it's all good. It's all good. I love it. All right. So hope you enjoyed this sort of how-to on how to use the Watchee browser. Again, if you want to know more about it, go to my website, watchcomplications.com. There's all kinds of information linked in the video description below. But check out the application and the browser. It's a way to wonderfully view your watch information if you are a serious enthusiast and collector.
As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. Follow me on watchcomplications.com. Check out my Instagram at watch_complications. But I really hope that people will take advantage of, if you use the iOS app Watchee, that you will use Watchee Browser Pro from time to time. Again, if you are interested in having the Pro version and having photo support, get in contact with me. Shoot me an email. My contact information is on my website, and you know how to find me. You can even mention it in the comments below. But hope you enjoyed this interface I've created. It's all about being an enthusiast, wanting to share opportunities and information with other people in the watch community. So again, I'm Brian, and this is Watch Complications.